Welcome to another episode of the Art of Tech podcast for teachers who can't tech good and want to learn to do other stuff good too. I am your host, Cassandra Smith, the EdTech coordinator for Battleground Public Schools, and today I am joined by the wonderful Mandy Thompson, instructional coach for Lauren Middle School.
And I am a longtime listener, first-time caller.
Awesome! I feel like I finally made it for someone to be able to say that, and I think a month of the podcast is long enough to have a long-time listener, so that's very exciting. And so today our episode is on the importance of modeling technology, and this kind of rounds out our month theme for September, the beginning of the school year, and introducing technology in the classroom. And so we wanted to kind of close that out with this topic of the importance of modeling in the classroom, and especially modeling technology. So starting off our conversation, when should you model in the classroom?
Well, really, I think modeling is something that gets overlooked just in general in teaching, but with technology I think it's even more important. And any time that you are teaching something new or introducing new tech to your students, you really need to model that for them and demonstrate kind of that gradual release of responsibility. So not just the first time you teach it, but every time after, you want to kind of remind students. Like, I was just talking to a teacher about Google Classroom yesterday, and I said, well, have you taught your students how to turn it in? She's like, well, I mean, I showed it to them once. Like, okay, well, you want to do it each time for a while, just to get them used to it, because you need to see those steps multiple times to really cement them for you. And modeling is just, it's the best teaching practice for all things. And so if you take that little bit of extra time to model for your students each time, and then gradually give them more of the responsibility. So the first time you walk them through, the next time you show them quicker, and then you might start asking, okay, what do we do when we need to turn in an assignment on Google Classroom, and let some of your students tell you, and then eventually
it's a routine.
It cements it to that routine place, yeah.
Right, so showing students what it looks like to do something, just with anything in your classroom, but with tech as well. So showing them what it looks like to engage with technology, just like you're showing them what it looks like to engage with a science experiment, or with a math problem, or with peer editing. You're modeling that for them, you're walking them through that process, and then you're doing that with technology, so that they can see what's expected of them, they can see what it looks like in action. And then I like what you were talking about with having students involved. So part of that gradual release of responsibility is bringing students into the modeling eventually. That's a really cool idea.
And that's that piece. Sometimes the students get tired of listening to you, but they'll listen to each other.
Yes, and we've mentioned that a couple times in previous episodes of bringing students in and how students listen to their peers, and that kind of makes that connection. There's more buy-in when students see each other or they're involved. So in our last episode we were talking about classroom expectations and having students involved in that conversation, as well as in the demonstration part. So modeling classroom expectations, modeling those routines. We had a couple examples that we discussed where videos were involved, and having students part of that creation, and that's part of modeling. So you're modeling your classroom expectations, you're modeling your routines, and the students are part of that. They're showing what you can do, what's expected of you, and making that connection. And then in our very first episode, we were talking about using videos to help show students technology expectations or routines and procedures in the classroom. In my classroom, as an art teacher, routines and procedures were very, very important to keep the classroom running smoothly. And so I made videos that modeled all of those pieces, and then we were able to go back to those videos as review, as needed. So videos can be really helpful.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But I just wanted to kind of make those connections to our previous conversations about the importance of bringing students into to modeling, and then modeling the technology piece alongside modeling your classroom procedures. So you're modeling the tech just as you would model your classroom pieces. And like you mentioned, that often gets missed. That in our heads, we know modeling is that best practice, and we're doing it. Maybe with the things that are unfamiliar to our students, like doing a science experiment, and things like that. But it's not as second nature to model like how to turn in something in Google Classroom.
And I think too, sometimes because we're so focused on making sure our students are getting the standards and moving forward, that sometimes we think, well, we did it once, like we can skip that, because you're always trying to go faster. But there's that saying, go slow to go fast. And I really think that's true with modeling procedures, and not just tech procedures, but all procedures. Like if you want to be able to go faster later in the year, you have to take that time. And it really isn't something that you want to skip.
Right. So what are some other examples of some things that you might model in the classroom? You mentioned Google Classroom. What are some other things in maybe Google Classroom and some things in the classroom in general that you would want to make sure that you're modeling?
Are you talking tech or non-tech or both?
Maybe both.
Okay. Being a writing teacher, modeling graphic organizers is a really important piece. The first time students interact with them, it's really important to go through it with them as a class, and then even going back to gradual release, let them do it with a partner and then on their own. And if you use graphic organizers, we have Kami, and there's lots of ways to use them with technology. So you'd want to model it if you use paper and technology also. So to make sure that students know where they're supposed to write and what the expectations are with the graphic organizers. And I know if you're using planners with students, a lot of teachers will model how to do that, and that really helps build some of those executive functioning skills. And if you do like activities in your classroom, like you do 4 corners or splitting the room, you really want to model how to do that with your students beforehand. With Google Classroom, I think something that's really important for students with that executive functioning piece is modeling the to-do list, and just modeling how to open and interact with an assignment, how to add an assignment in to an assignment that maybe doesn't have a document attached, especially for projects. But the to-do list especially, model how to do it for students specifically, like to go in and say, okay, here's your to-do list, here's all your assignments from all your classes. Here's how you look at just the ones that are from this class or this class, and give them a chance to interact with that a little bit. And that will help you and help them.
Yes. So yeah, highlighting some of those features that are built in to help students manage their work, like the to-do list is huge. That's going to help everyone. And so, and some of those might get lost because they're not explicitly part of opening an assignment and completing an assignment, engaging with just the assignment. So showing students those extra features that help them stay on top of their work can be really beneficial. So taking a look at that to-do list and showing them how to engage with that is going to be a huge help for you and your students.
So thinking back to that, where we were talking about modeling sometimes gets lost because we're trying to get through so many things. What are some ways that teachers can streamline that modeling process in the classroom?
So there's a lot of ways that technology can help with streamlining modeling, and so because we've talked about how there is that importance of returning to modeling, like not just modeling once and then expecting students to pick it up immediately. So there's ways that technology can help with that, with videos, like I mentioned. So recording a quick video that you can reuse over and over is a really great way to help with modeling, especially procedures. But that can be a great way to model an activity as well. So you record it once, especially if you have multiple class periods that are on the same subject. So you can record a demonstration in one class period and then reuse that video and watch it in multiple class periods. And then screencast, so you can record yourself live doing a demonstration. That's great for students who are absent. So if you are doing a live demo for your class, you can record it and then post it to Google Classroom, so any students who are absent can take advantage of seeing that demo. Then you can also do screencasts, so record your screen while you are walking through how to engage with technology. So modeling technology using a screencast feature. You can just record your screen using your Chromebook. That's a built-in feature to Chromebooks. You can use a video program as well, WeVideo, Loom, Screencastify. There's all sorts of options for recording your screen. So the screencast feature, again, post that to Google Classroom so your students can take advantage of using that resource anytime they have questions or you need to review it as a class. You can watch those videos. Another option is taking screenshots and creating your own step-by-step instructions. Or if there's maybe a stuck point as you're modeling, you know that students are going to need this one section that's where they're going to have trouble, take a screenshot of that one spot, circle maybe where they're going to need to click, and post that screenshot. So taking some screenshots and embed that into your instructions, those can be really helpful ways to share some modeling of the technology piece, or take photos in real life and include that in your directions. So pictures, screenshots, videos, screencasts, those are great ways to be able to review your modeling at any time without having to gather all of your supplies or redo a live demonstration for your students. And then also including audio directions, so recording yourself walking through the directions, reading aloud the directions. That just helps make instructions more accessible for your students. It allows you to give a little bit more information, so adding an audio element can help give more information, help students that need to listen to that information. That is another way that you can increase the accessibility to your instructions, but also kind of add in a little extra information to your instructions. And then taking advantage of student experts, like we talked about earlier, bringing your students into the modeling process, and increase that buy-in, have more engagement with your class by having those student experts, especially with technology. Students can really thrive in that area, having students help with the modeling of technology pieces.
I've had students before that maybe struggled in other areas but were really strong in technology, and allowing them to be the expert really gave them a lot of confidence as well. And too, when you're, so not just streamlining the modeling, but when you have those extra pieces, then it streamlines your class in general, because you don't have to answer those questions all the time. What do I do next? What do I do? How do I do this? You can say, oh, check this out.
Right, yeah, the streamlining piece, it's like a proactive move.
Yeah.
Because you're giving those students the resources in advance. And if you're setting it up as a routine, they know where to go in Google Classroom to access those resources.
Mm-hmm.
So they know where to go. They can answer their questions on their own, and that's a really kind of nice way to extra streamline things. So you can answer questions about the content. And maybe not necessarily the procedural questions.
And build in some more autonomy for your students.
Yes, exactly.
Which is always helpful.
Yeah. So streamlining your modeling can really help, and that's a really nice move. But why, in general, is modeling such an important teacher move?
Well, I think just first of all, it's about equity, because you are reaching all of your students. You're making sure that every student has what they need to be successful with what you're asking them to do. So if students have missing gaps or things that they didn't learn, you're leveling the playing field for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helps language learners and students with executive functioning needs, which is pretty much all middle schoolers.
Right, yeah. It helps everyone.
Right, yeah. But it really helps those students that are struggling with other things to be able to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so modeling, again, helps all of your students.
Yes.
It helps fill in any gaps. It helps get all of your students all on the same level, ready to engage with the activity, engage with the material, engage with the technology platform. It gets everyone ready to complete an assignment, to engage with that content. So you're getting everyone access to material, to platform, to content when you model, when you show them what's expected of them and what it looks like to complete that task.
Then they can achieve it.
Yep, exactly.
So to recap, modeling is such an important move because it saves you time in the classroom. It helps your students to be more successful. It will help you to have less questions about what to do next. And it can help some students, if you allow them to be experts, it can help them to feel competence. And I think the most important thing, though, is that it is a piece of equity in your classroom. And it really helps to make sure that all of your students know the expectations for that and are able to succeed.
Nice, yes. So modeling is that really important piece, especially at the beginning of the year, but throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have modeling just be one and done. Modeling is
anything new.
Embedded all the way through the year. But we did want to talk about modeling here in our kind of first month at the beginning of the school year to connect it with classroom expectations and introducing technology to your students for our first month's theme. And then next month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and so that will be our theme, and it will be the return of Scott as our co-host, and we'll have some really exciting guests for that month, so be sure to tune in. And I did want to point out that no one has emailed us to share where our podcast name came from. So there's still swag on the table for whoever emails either Scott or myself. You can email to EdTech Email. If you know where the Art of Tech podcast for teachers who can't tech good and want to learn to do other stuff good too, where that name reference came from. So if you know, email Scott or myself and you will get some swag. So that is still available.
I can't believe it's still available.
Yes.
Everybody's thinking, oh, somebody already emailed, I guess.
Yeah. So email us and you can get some swag if you know the reference to our name. And then tune in next week for our first Cybersecurity Awareness Month episode. And thank you very much to Mandy for joining us this week.
Thanks for letting me call in.